The Secrets of TV is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit GiveStarQuest.com.
You're listening to The Secrets of Television. I'm Patrick Mason, and we're taking a closer look at the stories behind the stories, exploring the themes, characters, and hidden meanings in the shows everyone's watching, and the classics worth remembering. Again, I'm Patrick Mason, and joining me today is Jeff Haecker. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Pat. When I was a boy.
And Rob Leonardi. How's it going, Rob?
I'm Rob. No, it doesn't work.
Are you the Hulk or?
Not quite. Maybe animal. And this week, we are wrapping up Daredevil, Born Again, Season 2, with the season finale, The Southern Cross. And when I was a boy, Jeff Haecker did the recaps. Go for it, Jeffrey.
All right. So the episode opens with Jessica treating Matt, who misses part of Karen's trial. Matt tells Jessica he needs to be in the Kingpin's sights in order to draw him out. Buck tells Fisk Daniel cannot deliver BB, and Fisk hands Buck a piece of paper saying he will make the arrangements. Matt comes to the trial, and Heather testifies. A sniper with the task force takes aim at the court, and the defense calls Fisk as a witness. The task force comes into the courtroom to guard him, but Bullseye comes to the sniper's nest and kills the sniper and the task force members guarding him. Matt and Kirsten present the first mate's testimony, and Matt reveals himself as Daredevil, corroborating the testimony of the first mate and revealing Fisk's criminal empire. The governor brings charges against Fisk, revoking the Freeport Charter, and as they have a confrontation at the front of the courthouse, the real Bullseye shoots Buck, and the task force locks Fisk in the courtroom, while Matt and company take refuge in another office. Fisk addresses the city, telling them that they are under siege, but BB releases a video telling the citizens to take their city back. The resistance rallies to the courthouse, and the task force goes after Matt and company. Brett, Cherry, and the cops face off with the task force at the courthouse steps. Powell tells the Alien vs. Terminator force, probably for the last time I'll say that
acronym.
Member North to fire, but North stops Powell, ending the standoff. The DA wants to leave, and Heather Muse throat punches him. Matt and Jessica fight the task force in the court halls, and Sheila tells Fisk...
Hughes.
Sheila tells Fisk the Attorney General is offering Fisk a deal to go into exile and he won't be charged. But Fisk fights against the resistance, killing or maiming several. White Tiger finally makes her debut, and joins Matt and Jessica in the fight, and Karen also takes down a task force member. The resistance, with Daredevil at its head, faces Fisk. Fisk tries to tell them they were wrong about him and that he fights for them, but the resistance rushes him and he is crowd stomped, but Matt tells them to back off. Matt says it's over for both of them, and he tries to give Fisk the grace to leave New York. Fisk accepts and says he will leave. Matt and Karen talk, saying they would like to take a shot at normal life, but he hears the cops coming and is arrested. Luke Cage returns, and he is confirmed as Danielle's father. BB joins the New York Bulletin, and Bullseye joins Mr. Charles. Heather pulls out the Muse mask and puts it on, and Matt walks to his cell, being imprisoned along with the task force.
The end.
And Fisk goes to a beach, I guess.
Yeah, and Fisk hangs out on the beach at the end. All right.
Was that a real beach, or was that just in his mind?
His mind beach. I don't know.
Mind beach? Yeah. Some people have mind palaces. I have a mind beach. I can't find anything, but I'm really peaceful. All right. What were our impressions of this final episode?
So, I really loved how cerebral this was, getting back into the courtroom, getting back into seeing Matt Murdock at law. And that was something that we were promised with the first season of Born Again. It was going to be a more procedural show, akin to Law and Order, rather than just beat 'em up sort of episodes. And it was nice seeing that happen and seeing the wittiness. And like I said, there's just Matt Murdock being Cerebral and tearing apart everything that was going on and the farce that it was. And it was beautiful. And yes, he came out just like Iron Man did with "I am Daredevil," and it was cool. But it was one of those, okay, what's going to happen from here, right? And I think this show ended with that's it. Like there has to be more. At one point, I remember what I think it was the Fisk's actor talked about how there was going to be a scene in here that was going to match or not or beat how in the end of season 3 of the Netflix show, Fisk and Daredevil kind of went at it and almost beat each other to a bloody pulp. And he said that there was going to be in this season something like that or better. And I don't know if I saw that or not. I kind of was expecting it in this episode since we got a little bit of a taste of it last episode. But overall, I think it was like 95.78% good, wonderful, and loved it. I'm looking for season 3 now.
How about you, Jeff?
Yeah, no, I really love the episode. I think it did a good job of kind of of tying up all the story beats and all the threads that we've had, while still leaving a few things out there. We don't know what the status of Buck is. I assume he made it, but we don't know. But and then we got the interesting. So the thing that kind of annoys me about shows, and a lot of them do this, is when your hero goes to jail and you have to spend time of them being in jail before they're released, because obviously they're not going to stay there. It's just to it juices the drama. So I don't mind it ending this way, but I don't want season 3 to be like 4 episodes of Matt in jail and dealing with being in jail and whatnot. Like, we need to get him, have an episode of him in jail or whatever and get him out, so that, because season 3 is probably going to be the final season of the show. They might do a sequel show or like another Defenders type of thing or something. But I don't want him to end. I don't want the season to just drag on with him in jail. Like, I love the show Arrow, and that was one of the hardest seasons, was when Oliver Queen was in jail for the season, because it's just like, he's going to get out and it's going to get fixed. So I was a little annoyed that it ended with him going to jail. But I don't think it's going to last. So I'm as someone who I can't think of might say, I'm cautiously optimistic about that prospect of Matt
right
getting
here
out of jail quickly. But I'm glad we got to see White Tiger kind of finally use her powers a little bit. Like, we kind of saw the kind of animalistic, like brutality, animalistic, instincts seemingly that kind of took over. So that'll be interesting to see what they develop there. I also am, it's a little bit of in a storyline, in a story in a universe where aliens and gods come down all the time. Fisk not getting any repercussions is one of the most unbelievable things, because how many people did he murder in this episode? Or maim? Like, at least a couple people dead for sure. And probably more being maimed. And so that's a little bit annoying to see, like, not have him face the consequence. Like, that's not going to stand. And, ultimately they're going to come back, Fisk is going to come back to New York and Daredevil's going to be released, and they're going to have a final confrontation, because that's just, how it has to be in a superhero show. Batman has to fight Joker, and one of them can't walk away from it in the end. So I'm expecting that in the next season, but I like that we got kind of the setup with Luke Cage and Defenders next season as well. So yeah, I really did like the episode. It just had a few like where it lifted, I'm like, a little bit frustrating, just because I've seen shows where they drag this out, and I hope they don't do that again. So I know that's more me complaining about next season that hasn't even come out yet, and we don't hardly know anything about. But But I did really like this particular episode, and it's a bummer that we end with Matt and Karen back together, going on their date again, but having to be separated. So
yeah, I would say overall the episode was good. It left a lot of question marks for me. It felt very much like the end of a series and not the end. And so it left a lot of different doors open because ultimately Daredevil is the titanic struggle between the unstoppable force of Fisk and the immovable object of Daredevil, and how they, that's how it's always been through the course of the show. And I think, that's why season 1 of the original Daredevil series was just so good, because that's all it was. And honestly, why last season was good and why this season was good. So I don't know what next season looks like, but we'll widely speculate on that later. So let's get into the meat of this thing just a little bit. Where to start? So let's talk a little bit about Jessica and Matt, and where we were with them at the beginning of this episode. What did you guys think about that?
I mean, I like that they it has her kind of coming in to help him, because we're seeing I guess it's the next day, like she got him from the church and got him home, or got him back to their, the Daredevil cave or wherever. Frank Castle's former hideout, I guess.
Former hideout.
So it got him back there, and she, helped heal him. You think the way it kind of ended last episode, you think it's going to be like immediately going to kick off into the action of, fighting their way out or whatever. But so I was a little bit surprised to see it. It's the next day, and it's, Matt's late for court, basically is where this begins. But yeah, I mean, I think Matt, I think the actors, Charlie Cox and Kristen Ritter they have such good chemistry on screen together, and they've had it since the beginning. Really almost all the Defenders characters do, except for one particular character who has not made an appearance in this show.
Well, that's not chemistry of the actors. That's just a poorly written character.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, I don't know, TBD, but so it's always great seeing them kind of go, team up together, even if it's not in a fight. And in this case, they weren't teaming up in a fight at the beginning. They were just like discussing kind of what the plan is. And I like that Matt's still like, no, I have to go face them in court. I have to beat him in the public eye, not just the private, vigilante, in the night kind of a thing. So I like the setup that he's still going to show up to court, despite his injuries and whatever.
Yeah. So, I enjoyed the opening, which we finally see the Avengers Tower in universe, which I don't know if you guys saw that in the skyline. That was kind of cool. But I love Jessica and Matt coming back together and working things the way that they did. And I jumping ahead here, really disappointed with how Jessica Jones ended the scene of Fisk. Like, you see her jump across the screen, land, pull some people off, and then she disappears for the entire rest of the scene.
Yeah.
It was just like, where did she go? Like, I get like, okay, let them have their bromance, like, or brenemies.
Brenemies.
But like, be there, because in case something goes wrong, like, but she just disappeared. So it was just kind of awkward, I think, at the end there. Obviously not the very, very end when she had with the final after the fight scene, but it was really good seeing them work together, and enjoyed Jessica coming back. I guess in terms of that, with White Tiger as well, just being able to see White Tiger play into all of that, I enjoyed. I think though, like, White Tiger only used her powers once. Like, she jumped on a wall, and it was really cool, but you don't see her again. So it's just kind of I mean, you see her kind of going a little animalistic, but you don't see White Tiger again doing the cool, what's it called? I
got nothing. I don't know. I don't know what you're looking for. I see. I kind of feel like she's a replacement for Iron Fist. That maybe she's going to be the defender that steps in.
Parkour.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say, and kind of as an aside, I think this season could have used an episode that was nothing but punching and kicking through the course of the episode. Like, we could have had that, and that would have been okay. Instead, we got like snippets here and there, and I guess about a third of this episode was sort of dedicated to that, but it wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't kicky and punchy enough. I'll put it. But so if we move on from that to our only really other scene before we get into the courtroom is Buck and Fisk, and where Buck tells Fisk what happened. What did you guys think about that?
I was waiting for him to go, my son! My son!
What have you done?
Look at what you did to my boy.
When I was a boy, that wouldn't have happened. I mean, it was one of those things. I was like, oh, that's sad. Like, okay, let's move on. And then it was kind of curious of, I guess I wasn't thinking that they were going to pull Fisk into the courtroom. So with the paper, I was kind of confused on it. I thought it was just more documentation of, oh, he survived. Like, we have to go get him. But it was all right.
Yeah, I thought it was a good scene to, you see Fisk losing yet another one of his allies, like slowly, like he over the course of the episode, he slowly like loses people. About the only one who kind of stays allied to him somewhat by the end is that's still kind of in play. Is
Hughes.
Is Hughes. Because Powell gets taken out. North's the name of the other task force guy who kind of broke good a little bit. I'd forgotten his name through this whole show, but North is his name. So he kind of doesn't have anyone left except, and even the DA who's, was just so hilariously like slimy and,
yes.
skeevy in this episode. Everyone pretty much is gone. And I mean, Buck's injured. We don't know his status, but everyone else is pretty much gone except for Hughes at the end. So it was a good scene, kind of seeing him kind of lose another one of his allies. And I'm a little bit, so was the document that he had, was that to set up the whole fake bullseye thing, or do we know what that was about? Because I
think it was just a subpoena.
Yeah. It's telling him he had to come to court.
Okay.
He was called as a witness.
Okay. Well, because he hands it to Buck and says, I'll make the arrangements. So, okay. Yeah, I guess it's okay. Yeah, that makes sense then. Okay.
Hence why all the task force shows up.
Right. Yeah. No, I was just a little bit confused.
We can finally count bodies.
Yeah.
Because during the episode, I was like, well, is this some kind of like, is he going to reveal Matt's identity to New York or something? Is this, I didn't know what that was. So, okay, that makes sense that it's the subpoena. But yeah, I mean, it was a good scene. I think it's almost our last mention of Daniel, but we get one more. He gets a couple tribute images, I guess.
Yep. One in the video and then one on BB's desk. All right. So the majority of the rest of this takes place in the courtroom, or in the courthouse itself. And before we get to Hughes on trial or Hughes on the stand, I want to give a brief explanation of what antisocial personality disorder is, just so people know. Per the DSM-4, there is a pervasive pattern of disregard for and violation of the rights of others occurring since age 15 years, as indicated by 3 or more of the following: having hurt, mistreated, or stolen from another; failure to conform to social norms with respect to lawful behaviors, as indicated, or repeatedly performing acts that are grounds for arrest; deceitfulness, as indicated by repeated lying, uses of alias, or conning others for personal profit or pleasure; impulsivity or failure to plan ahead; irritability and aggressiveness, as indicated by repeated physical fights or assaults; reckless disregard for the safety of self or others, consistent irresponsibility, and lack of remorse. So
I don't have that at all.
no, I wasn't talking about you, Rob. But what's going on, buddy?
Rob, what's that mask doing?
Nothing.
So, this is a pretty, how do I put this? Damning diagnosis in the psychological world. And to be applied flippantly to somebody is no bueno. Although it does not actually match up with sociopath. That's a whole different ball of wax. So, and again, it's not usually called sociopath anymore. But, yeah. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Just make sure people understand that there's kind of a difference between what they put on the TV and what's actual. So,
No.
yeah, all right. So Heather is
Cowards.
Yeah, or Hughes. Shocking. Hughes is on the stand, and I liked what they did with this episode, where they more or less had the people who were on the witness stand were effectively on trial. What did you guys think about Heather's stand?
So Heather, you could tell, obviously, Hughes has fully taken over, and she's projecting onto Karen this entire time. And in doing so, she's unraveling and kind of accepting, I think, her own downfall into wearing a mask.
Yeah, it could be that, or it could, I think part of it is that she has trauma from the attack that kind of started her on this darker road, and like the only way she can cope with that is to kind of give into this Muse persona. And so I don't know if it's that she's like willingly doing it. I think it's
I didn't say willingly.
Okay. Well, yeah. I just mean, she's not really like it's giving in per se. It's more of like the darker side is taking over. So it'll be interesting to see kind of where that goes in future seasons. Like, will she, because, now she knows that Matt's Daredevil. So when he gets released, like, are they going to have a, confrontation of sorts, or is she just going to kind of be out there and, a future threat possibly that we never will see again? But it was interesting, because we saw the scene last week of Heather versus Karen in the cell or interrogation room, whatever you want to call it, where she was doing the interview in eval, and now she's kind of using her fake results, or basically she's saying whatever she wants to, because she's on Fisk's payroll, so like she's going to say whatever she wants, giving into that dark persona too. So there's really not a lot of truth that she has anymore, I think. So yeah, it was interesting, and seeing the DA kind of still kind of trying to play up the angle of he's the skeezy lawyer who's just trying to prosecute a case because it's going to bring him a high profile and get him paid or whatever. So, but their interplay was interesting all the way up until she just throat punches him as in the when the courthouse is under siege or whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've seen her get physically violent 3 times over the course of this season, right? With Buck as the first time, with Karen as the second time, and with
Muse,
skeezy lawyer man. What's his name?
Well, no, she got violent with Muse too. Like she shot.
Oh,
well,
yeah, that was last season though.
So, you meant this season? Okay.
Yeah, this season. So, with Buck, it was kind of Buck sort of told her to do it. With Karen, it was provoked, right? And although they were provoking each other, and it's like putting a couple wasps in a bottle and shaking them up. And with skeezy lawyer guy, it was provoked by him. It's interesting because Muse's MO was not vigilante oriented. right? Where her use of violence through the course of her time, and against Muse too, has been against people she perceives as bad guys or threats. And so I think that kind of plays into her future Hughes state is going to be pretty different from Muse, right? She's going to be a different kind of vigilante. She'll be a, I don't know, an actual vigilante.
She's going to go after the vigilantes.
Yeah. She'll be the Dexter of vigilantes, like going after. Yeah. She's a vigilante, but going after vigilantes. So she's on the good side in her mind.
Right. In her mind. Which, I mean, so if your definition of and that was one of the things that came up, what is a vigilante? What is a criminal? And if the definition of vigilante is anybody who wears a mask and hurts people, then, anybody, Captain America's in that, Iron Man's in that. Most of the Marvel heroes who wear masks are, in that because they wear masks and they hurt people. It's just, a lot of times they hurt the bad guys. So it's interesting that in a lot of ways, that concept of what is a vigilante, what is a criminal was on trial here. And she is kind of showcasing that she doesn't see it, like the same as Fisk showcases when he gets up, that she doesn't see a difference, right? There is only if you wear a mask, you're bad, which is funny because she's wearing a mask at the end of the show.
Which is where the projection comes, which is, that is a mental issue that people do all the time, is when we project our own issues onto others, and it just gets our own emotions going with that.
So then after Heather, we get Mayor Fisk walking into some pretty dramatic operatic music as he takes the stand and swears himself in, and then tells a small vignette about when he was a boy. So, effectively Kingpin's on trial. What did we think about how Matt Murdock pulled that off?
I really enjoyed it because of, like I mentioned at the beginning, how cerebral it was, where you have you have Matt Murdock bringing in the evidence of I forgot his name, but the first shipmate from the Northern Star that Fisk ended up killing. And it was interesting. I really liked the scene where the counselors go into the judge's chambers and Fisk just quietly talks to Matt Murdock. And Matt Murdock responds to him as if he could hear him, which was kind of weird. But it was cool just seeing it was cool seeing the wittiness, and it's cool seeing the cerebralness of a courtroom type show happening again. Getting Fisk to realize he's going to out himself as Daredevil, and then showing people, throwing his cane across the room. Like, it was just really cool. That was that interaction was my favorite part of this entire episode.
Yeah, no, I'll agree. I mean, I agree. It was very good, very well done. How they laid the groundwork for the trial, by introducing the testimony of the first mate, and that it was done all properly. He duly was deposed on video by Kirsten, and they introduced it at trial, and then Matt corroborates, and then Fisk says, well, Daredevil was on the boat, and so Matt can kind of use that. He the defense can use that to say, okay, Daredevil was on the boat. You said it. I'm Daredevil. I was there, and just kind of brings the whole kind of house of cards down around Fisk. So, and I also like seeing the judge finally kind of grow a backbone. And I don't know if there was something cut out where her family was under threat or something, on why she was so kind of giving into Fisk so much, as in Jack's trial, why the judge, they basically I forget the word is, they railroaded Jack through that, but she had a completely different shift here. And I don't know if there was maybe a subplot that they kind of cut out showing her, family under threat or this or that, but it was nice seeing like the judge, or maybe it's just that she recognized that this is the moment that the city can, like, that they can take the city back from Fisk.
I think that was part of it when last episode where they talked about there being no jury, and I think it was
Kirsten.
Matt Kirsten. I was like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
Yeah. You sure?
So I think that kind of got to her, and she realized what was happening.
Yeah, it's an interesting play by Kingpin because, there's a couple ways he can go in and win this. And, ultimately, I'm still sort of focused on him being kind of a revenge machine at this point. He wants to get, just like Matt says at the beginning to Jessica, that he needs to get in Fisk's sights. But pulling him into the courtroom changes the dynamic. But Fisk is still like, yeah, but I've got a fake bullseye who's going to kill you when you walk out of the court. And, so no matter what, in Fisk's mind, Murdoch loses. And if Murdoch loses, then Fisk wins, right? If I've removed my immovable object, I can become the unstoppable force again. And I love what Fisk says, when he's telling us, when I was a boy, no man is above these institutions. And, he ends up being right. Like, Murdoch beats him in court. It's not Daredevil who beats Kingpin. It's Matt Murdock who beats Mayor Fisk, right? And that is such a different way to do the story, because normally you get them just beating the snot out of each other. And it's, Daredevil and Kingpin just beating each other. And instead you get very much and Matt Murdock. And I think I am Iron Man. I mean, I am Daredevil. They're, I am all the Jedi. Sorry. There is sort of Matt kind of reintegrating himself. And what I mean by that, I think Daredevil really was kind of an alter ego persona in a lot of ways through the course of, this season. I think it sort of, he tried to put it away at the very beginning of the first season, right, with Foggy's death, and then we see it basically come back out. And by the time it's back out in this season, he's very brutal, he's very harsh. It seems to be, not about killing people, but still is okay with other people killing people.
Maiming people.
Yeah. And I really feel like this is him sort of reintegrating the Daredevil back into him. And he's really Matt Murdock at this. I think at the beginning of this season, he was Daredevil. And now he's Matt Murdock again. And I love that he beats Fisk in court. So we get the trial, of the century, and just as an aside, no, this would not work this way at all in a real court.
No.
Like, I can't go into the number of problems, but of course this was set up as, something of a kangaroo court from the beginning. Like, it's not a real court. It's a tribunal. There's no jury. It's specifically for vigilantes. So it's its own thing, which is why they can get away with doing, effectively what they did. What did you guys think about the end, the kind of the end of the court case and the coming to close before we get the start of the action?
I was just a little bit confused where the judge told Matt Murdock to stay, and he didn't. I don't understand why that was.
Well, I think she meant don't leave the courthouse, and he stayed in the courthouse. So,
but it seemed like he was going to leave. And they were all walking towards the front door. So I didn't catch that though.
Yeah, it might have. Well, I think it might have just been that Matt was going to confront Fisk, like on the, at the front. But yeah, I think it was just that he like. I wasn't expecting it. The season was going to end with Matt getting, going to jail and getting arrested, even with revealing his identity. But I think that's maybe what it was kind of going to, like, okay, Daredevil has committed some crimes now, so now those have to be addressed. Which is, in retrospect, that's what I think what they were saying, like why she told him not to leave the courthouse, so that they could, bring, I don't know if they were going to arraign him or arrest him or what. But obviously that got forestalled by by Bullseye shooting, going for Fisk but hitting Buck.
Or was he?
I think he was shooting for Fisk. Because Matt hears it happening, and he starts like trying to tell Fisk to back off or whatever, and then that's when Buck kind of moves at the last minute. So yeah, I think that's kind of what she was telling him to stay so that they could handle the business of him being Daredevil, like legally speaking. I don't know, just my interpretation, but
yeah, I am a little curious as to who was supposed to get shot. If Poindexter was aiming for Fisk, or if who he was going to go after there. I assume it was Fisk, but again, why was he there? Like, how did he find out that there was going to be a fake Bullseye? And I haven't pieced that one together.
I think it has to do with, last episode, Matt Murdock or Daredevil asked him to effectively, balance the scales, right? And the idea of you need to go protect the mayor. And he went, and we thought he killed the guy. That's the governor. No, not the mayor. The governor.
Yeah, the governor.
And we thought he killed the guy, but he didn't.
Yeah.
So that was
it turned out he didn't kill the guy. So not as evil.
And so, continuing on that kind of train of thought there, that the mayor, the governor shows up to the trial, so he's going to continue trying to protect the governor, since the governor's now putting herself in the crosshairs of everything going down with that acronym, and it's going to. It just kind of to me, it naturally made sense that he's going to kind of follow her and try to make sure she's protected. And I think because of that is where we ended up with him at the very end, where he's now taking the place of Luke Cage and doing the God's work, apparently, over across the pond.
I have a feeling God is not involved, or not.
I mean, is God really involved over there? Oh, sorry, everyone.
Different podcast.
Well, I don't think they're not going to England.
Podcast.
They're not going to England, I don't think. I think they're going somewhere else. Some war-torn...
Or Germany? No. Okay.
Well, so I think... So the other possibility, too, is that Bullseye made contact with Mr. Charles, and Mr. Charles tipped him off that something was going down. So I think that's... It could be be both, or it could be that he followed the governor's stuff going on. But
I think because Mr. Charles and the governor had they have dealings together, I think that Matt naturally flows together, whether it was one or the other. That's kind of the outcome of it.
Yeah. I guess I guess I was just thinking. I didn't really think of why he was there. I also was kind of thinking that maybe he's still in contact with Matt and the resistance, to just be kind of an extra person observing, being out there. Because when you see the sniper, I was like, oh, that's interesting. And like they made the guy kind of look like Bullseye, and so I was like, okay, it seems like because at first you just see the fake Bullseye there. You don't see the task force. But then you start seeing it and you're like, okay, and that's when you know it's a setup of some sort. And I mean, and the sniper could have also been there to hit the governor, because the governor was the one who would revoke the charter that,
right.
So it could have, the sniper could have been there for the governor as well. I think that would make more sense than, because if he takes out the governor, then no one, there's not a governor in place who can revoke the charter, or there's a friendly lieutenant governor who's now the governor that will, or keep the charter in place. I mean, so.
Well, I thought she had already revoked it before she went to the trial. Because she tells him at the end when he's walking out that it's been revoked and he's being indicted.
Well, she does, but then if she's taken out, then the new governor could reverse that policy. And like he even says too, like it takes time to file this paper. He doesn't say file this paperwork, but it takes time for these things to like go through. So
I don't think that Fisk was planning on having the governor show up.
Yeah.
The governor showed up with Jessica Jones. I think that was not something Fisk planned. And so I don't think the sniper was there for the governor, but I think that with Bullseye being there and kind of following the governor to protect her, that it would make more sense just to have him take out all of these acronym people that are going to cause mayhem.
Yeah. And so, after Buck gets shot, they put the courthouse on lockdown, and, AVTF forms a wall, and Matt and them hide in a room.
I think it's
suppose
the DA's office.
Is it? Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, because they pull out Jessica finds the whiskey, of course, and what is she saying? Thank God for jurisprudence. So.
Jurisprudence, yeah. And so they're hiding in basically a kill box of a building because the Alien versus Terminator force is roving around. And then we get the two addresses to the city, one by Mr. Mayor and one by Fake Fisk. What did you guys think about the addresses?
I like that BB got, I think we kind of talked last week that we didn't think BB was gone, and I'm glad that she didn't just do the report and be gone. Like I like how she kind of comes full circle and taking her uncle's place at the bulletin by the end of it, by the end of the season. So, but I like that it was her who kind of finally gets to like spill the beans to the public and to the public eye at least of like everything Fisk has done, because she's been kind of the one. She's been the propaganda pro Fisk. That's been the public, her public BB report, but then she's also been having her kind of underground, social media thing that's been going anti-Fisk. So I like that she was able to like cut into the transmission or, break into it and present her, like do her report right there. So, which, brings the question of like, was that part of the resistance that was kind of orchestrating that as well, like cutting into the transmission? So
yeah, that's going to have to take a lot of skill and some super genius to be able to just hijack everybody's phone.
I don't know, like someone named Micro. Played by the Thing.
But it was really cool to see that was the motivator kind of moved the episode forward into the confrontation that happened, and having Powell get taken down, which was nice to see him get his comeuppance. But
yeah, it was interesting watching it. I thought that when Fisk was doing his address to the city, he looked very much like the fake BB or the fake Fisk from the fake BB or whatever it's called. And just the way his arms were and how he acted and how he was shot. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Obviously his call for, fight with me was not effective in the slightest. I don't think anybody showed up, for his side, but lots and lots of people showed up wearing Daredevil masks, all of them unarmed, except with cell phones. And, they get through. Eventually, North decides to turn on Powell, who he finally recognizes as a bad man. I don't know. I don't know how else to put it. And then they charge into the thing, and kind of all hell breaks loose at that point. So, I don't know who we want to focus. I think focus on Jessica and Matt. What did you think of their fight through the halls?
I mean, you've got to have a hallway fight in Daredevil. And one thing from the official podcast that I listened to is that I think they said every season since the first season of the Netflix show, they do a oneer, like a one where it's like one take where they don't stop the camera. And they said this season the oneer was in the prison breakout with Jack and everybody when they were breaking out of the the secret prison or whatever. But it wasn't. I wouldn't classify that as a hallway fight because it was in a much more open space. But I mean, Daredevil's been like it's pretty much pioneered. I at least from what I can think of. Well, maybe not pioneered, but it's been a hallmark of the MCU to have a hallway fight. Like probably the earliest one was in I think Iron Man 2, and then a lot of movies since then and TV shows have had a hallway fight. But the Netflix seasons, especially, that was like one of the big hallmarks of where you're like really getting close and it's a lot of like room to room fighting. And so I like that they did that here. Like it definitely, for this fight scene definitely felt more like the Netflix era of the Daredevil, the Daredevil Defenders era fight scenes versus some of the more Disney Plusified MCU-ified fight scenes that we've gotten. And I mean these shows have had a much more like gritty, realistic fight scenes than other of the shows, but and I think that's been true since like really the one that was the most like Disneyfied was the Bullseye Daredevil fight scene at the start of Born Again season 1. And since then it's been much more like close up and gritty, realistic type of thing. But I think they did it really well here. Like it really is intense. Like you zoom in close to everybody, you're like they're kind of fighting one at a time and they're kind of like trading blows with the task force, and like Jessica throws a guy, Matt punches a guy, and then they like progress like one person at a time, and then Angela comes in, like you said, parkouring off and finally using some White Tiger power. So I was happy to see that. But no, I think it was a
I just got Power Rangers flashing in my mind.
White Ranger power. But no, I really like the scene.
It was nice seeing Jessica not lose part of her powers while in mid fight. So at least we know for the future that there is hope. But yeah, it was a good fight scene. Like I said, I wish I would have seen a little bit more the parkouring with the White Tiger. That seems really cool. But then it all culminated in just that confusing scene of Jessica disappearing and Fisk and Daredevil kind of romancing it up a little bit.
Right, because you have Fisk at the same time coming out of the courtroom swinging, literally, and crushing people as he goes. It just turns into this sort of blood-stained monster by the time he gets to the big, scene at the end where they're all in the, I don't know, what would you call that, vestibule?
Yeah.
The entranceway to the courtroom where he's standing on the balcony. What did you guys think about that set piece in particular?
I found it kind of highly realistic or unrealistic.
I was gonna say, really?
Let me try that again.
Super real.
Yeah.
Hyper realist.
I found it highly unrealistic that Fisk just bowls through dozens of people, killing all, if not most of them. And he gets to the top of the balcony, sees this massive crowd, and then just like goes into the fetal position. Yeah.
So it's one thing we saw it some in the Netflix, but I feel like it's been even more prevalent in the Disney seasons, that he's not like, he's got some level of superhuman ability. Like he crushed the guy's skull in season 1 of Born Again. And Hawkeye, even, there was like, I think he ripped a car door off of a car in Hawkeye, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. Because he was trying to go after Kate Bishop's mom, I think. And then in this, like, he's just punching, like, because I mean, in real life, someone, no matter how big you are, eventually a crowd of people is going to be able to like just hold you down. But he comes out of that room swinging and just like, and we saw him also punch through a brick wall a couple episodes ago, like punch through a brick column. So he's got some level of superhuman ability that I think is like, they've not really explained it, and I don't think they need to. I think
they don't need to.
But
I guess I was more expecting him to like, he stands up and they all fly off and like.
Yeah, I think that part of it though, like, so I was talking about more of the part at the beginning where he busts out of the courtroom and starts fighting.
Yeah.
But yeah, by the time he's on like the, at the high, second level or whatever, and the crowd starts coming at him, he's almost given up, like, because he's still, up until the point of him, like, he's starting to fight through the people, like, even at that point he's still like, he believes in what he's doing, at least as far as like, he's fooled himself into thinking that, I think he's fooled himself into thinking that he does, and I think he does love New York, but he loves the version of New York that isn't real. And he thinks other people love his version too, but it's not until that crowd is just like continually coming at him and kind of swarms him, and eventually, like, I think it's kind of that he's given up a little bit. That he's started to give up. He started to realize that, okay, people aren't buying what I'm selling, so I've kind of lost the will to fight at that point.
Yeah, because I think in his head, like, what he says on the balcony, I think is true from his perspective, right? He thinks he's given them everything. Like, he's everything he had, including his wife, Vanessa. That's everything has gone, and he's done it all in his mind. I think he's justified it all as he's doing it for New York and not necessarily for him. And what he effectively gets in that scene is, no, New York has rejected me. And no matter, like, I don't think he's got superhuman powers. I think he's just, Mike Tyson level strong. And those guys,
I don't know. Can you see Mike Tyson punching through a brick wall
in his prime? Yeah. Muhammad Ali too. Like, those guys, like, those guys, like, you talk about able to do some damage. If
it was Chuck Norris, maybe.
Well, yeah, come on. I mean, yeah, but those guys were able to lay out people with single punches, routinely. So much so that, people stopped going to their fights because they were like, it's going to be over, and before the first round. So I don't think it's necessarily necessary that he's got superpowers. He's just, and that's how he was always written in the comics. It's just this ridiculously strong human. But yeah, I think no matter how many people you eventually you'll get enough to swarm him and overwhelm him. I thought it was interesting that by the end of all that, he's wearing white stained in red, right? The blood of all these people. And Daredevil is in black stained in red, which is his suit ripping away. Right. So they're both this blood stained, these indestructible forces sort of coming to terms with each other. And, instead of Daredevil offering Kingpin the let's both leave the city, we get Matt Murdock offering Fisk let's both leave the city. Like, we can't, I think he says, what about Grace? And Fisk says, you can't offer me, you're not allowed to offer me Grace.
Right. Which I think that right there was a beautiful moment, because that was bringing Foggy back. Right. And from 3-4 episodes ago, where Foggy being kind of the central character of Daredevil's Jiminy Cricket, if you will.
Yeah.
Where, again, Foggy was more, in that sense, more Catholic than Matt Murdock was, even though Foggy wasn't the Catholic.
Right. And I love what he says is like, but we can both, leave the city and give it peace. And that's grace. And that's the term that Kingpin or, Fisk takes. And, by this point, Daredevil has his mask off, so he's Matt Murdock wearing the Daredevil suit. So, like I said, fully integrated person again. So I really, really like that scene.
Yeah, it was very good, but yeah, again, obviously this, we're dealing with the fake, world and whatnot. We're suspending our disbelief. But I feel like just Fisk getting off scot-free, because earlier we didn't really talk about it, but Sheila, the deputy, which I guess we know why. I think it's her in the Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer.
Spoilers.
Giving Spider-Man the key to the city. I'd have to watch the trailer to see if that is Sheila, but we know why it's not Fisk anymore. But she's had the Attorney General of New York calling a couple times trying to make a deal, and like despite everything Fisk's done, the deal is he gets to leave, which will be interesting because like if I was the family member,
renounce his citizenship.
Right. Well, yeah. But like
I told you last week, he's going to be a hobo.
I did. But it'll be interesting because like how many people has Fisk imprisoned and killed and, maimed and destroyed, like lives destroyed. Like somebody's going to, so I think that could be the part of a setup on why he comes back is like people are coming after him for the things he did. Maybe it's Luke Cage or something, or the Defenders are going after him, or maybe it's Mr. Charles is kind of coming after him to take revenge or something. So like I don't know if we'll see Mr. Charles in Bullseye again, but I hope we do, because I enjoyed both characters. So I don't want them to be completely gone, but yeah, it's still like that took me out of it a little bit. That like he just gets to leave and Matt has to go to prison. Obviously Fisk is going to be back in some capacity because he's not dead, and so he's going to come back. And even if he was dead, he'd probably come back because in this show we've seen people get thrown off a roof and come back, or get their back broken and come back. So.
Or get shot in the face. Oh, wait, no, that wasn't this show. Well, he came back in this show.
Well, he technically came back in Echo.
But...
Oh, yeah, that's right. Never mind.
We can pretend it's this show because not too many people saw Echo.
We have the return of Alias Investigations.
Yeah.
And Luke Cage.
What are they going to do with that? What do you think? Are they going to actually do a Jessica Jones season now? Are they going to do a Jessica Cage?
Well, it
thing?
Seems like they're just setting up the Defenders kind of coming back. And, I was joking earlier about the one missing Iron Fist. And I didn't have a problem with the actor playing Iron Fist. The show was not well written, but the Colleen Wing who took over as Iron Fist, like she was awesome in the like she was one of the good things about those shows. And I think it would be cool if like even if Danny Rand doesn't come back, if Colleen comes back and they have and they do a Defenders team up with some of the other, like they could pull some of the other Defenders era characters like Misty Knight and some of the other like Luke Cage people, and and other characters. And so even like Trish, Jessica Jones's friend, and she was in I think going to like a raft style prison at the end of season 3 of Jessica Jones. So like it seems like they're setting up the return of the Defenders. I just don't know if it's going to be in Daredevil Born Again season 3, or if they're setting up an actual Defenders thing with spinoffs, which I'm all for more content. So like do it well and I'll be happy to watch it.
Right. And I guess my question then becomes like, where exactly are they going? What are they going to do with all of these TV characters? So we see some, Punisher is finally getting some actual time in Spider-Man and like on the big screen. And we had Matt Murdock do that too. But what about Moon Knight? What about the She-Hulk again? Are they going to be in the Avengers movie? Or are they going to make a Defenders with a Z? And
A new Defender.
like, I want to see, what, especially with Wonder Man. Wonder Man happened, right?
It's
Which
getting
was actually pretty good, to be honest.
It was.
It's getting a season 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Might have to do that someday.
Or I think they brought back, they had a horror TV episode.
Well, Werewolf by Night.
Yeah, and they brought in
Man Thing.
the Swamp Thing.
Man Thing.
Swamp Thing is DC.
Yeah. He's coming. He's coming too, but
But it's just like, I want to see some culmination of everything that they're putting out here, and not just forgetting about all of these characters that they've created.
Yeah, the problem is they've just had to pivot so many times because these shows were all coming with the boom of streaming and Disney Plus, and then they realized, like, okay, these are costing a lot of money, we're not getting a lot of return. Like, people in some of the shows just most of the shows I found enjoyable, even if they weren't all good. There's only one show really that just was overall, just by the end of it, made me so mad I don't want to ever watch it again. Secret Invasion. But I think it's just
terrible.
Yeah, it was good up until the final episode. But anyway,
no, it was bad all the way through.
Anyway, I think, but I think they're just like, yeah. Unfortunately, we're probably not going to see some of these characters again. I hope so. Like, I would love a Moon Knight follow up and like doing like a Dark Avengers with a Z, or or without the Z, either way. So, but yeah, I think there's been rumors and speculation that Daredevil will show up in if not in Doomsday and Secret Wars. I think I saw something about that. So, I mean, who isn't going to show up in Secret Wars? That's kind of your chance to show everybody who's.
I don't know. I just feel like, when Marvel TV started back in the day with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and the whole premise was it's all connected, and then that all went off on a wacky its own timeline thing, and then
that's because it wasn't produced by Marvel Studios, so that was the problem,
right? But the original concept was it's all connected, and so you had, and it went like hand in hand with the movies and the release of all of the movies up to a certain point, even all the way to Infinity War. And it was able to at least touch on something a little bit. But now we have the Netflix, and the Netflix shows mentioned that there was something happening in New York, but didn't really do much with it. Like, I want to see some payoff of all of these characters from even before streaming happened. Like, get Quake back, get Phil Coulson's alternate ego back. However, whatever it is in that really the last horrible season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but we need to do something with those characters. Yeah,
I mean, I just think they wanted to. I think part of the problem was it's hard to draw new people in if you have to go see 30 movies and 10 shows. Like, it's to be caught up. Like, people aren't, new viewers are not, a lot of them won't make that investment, and that's why I think like Daredevil Born Again has succeeded where other of these like Disney Plus era shows haven't, because it was a low entry point, and you could have skipped seeing the Netflix seasons and been fine watching this show. So I think that's part of it, is they're trying to make things more user friendly for new people. And I think I love the idea of the connected universe. It was great for a while, but I think after Secret Wars they're gonna kind of maybe split things off a little bit more and not have as many like big everything has to connect and be connected and all in the same universe, because that just gets hard for new people to follow. So
yeah, but it's way more fun. But it's all connected.
I'm not saying it's not, but I think
they could easily do something where they have an episode or a show that you don't have to introduces people or reintroduces people, so you don't have to go back watch all the good and the bad and the ugly of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or, Secret Wars. But you at least get some closure of the people that know it, and then you get, okay, cool, that was a cool thing for the people that don't know it.
Yeah, we'll see. Personally, I think season 3 is going to be a lot of Defenders, and it won't be nearly as much of just Matt and Fisk. I think it's going to be primarily Defenders stuff, and it'll be with Daredevil sort of in the lead. That's kind of what I expect, but I really don't know because of where they left this season. With this season being, that, like I said, the show has always been about Daredevil and Fisk, or Daredevil and Kingpin / Matt Murdock and eventually Mayor Fisk. we had, and it almost feels like that's come to a close now in this sort of mutual banishment. Now, because you're stuck with me as being the lead, I'm going to talk about the music. So our end, I know, shocker, right? Our end song was the Pyramid Song by Radiohead, and it's an interesting song. I'm going to read. It's got basically one verse that gets repeated twice, and it's, I jumped in the river. What did I see? Black-eyed angels swam with me. A moon full of stars and astral cars, and all the figures I used to see. All my lovers were there with me, all my past and futures, and we all went to heaven in a little rowboat. There was nothing to fear and nothing to doubt. And that gets, repeated twice. And then in the end, you have, the singer from, I think that's Tom York, singing, there's nothing to fear, nothing to doubt over and over again. It's something of a trippy song, much like using everything in its right place to end the first season. And, I kind of gushed over that. If you want to hear me talk about that at length, you can go back to our recap of Daredevil Born Again season 1. But the reason everything in its right place works so well is because, the line from that song is really just a single line that gets sung over and over again. And, and that's everything in its right place. And I have two colors in my head, right? And the colors being white and red, right? For Daredevil and Fisk. And we end season 1 with them set up, quote unquote, in their right place, right? Kingpin is at the height of his power. He's the mayor. He's got everything the way he wants it. And Daredevil is the leader of the resistance, and he sort of accepted his alter ego again. He's donned the mask, and he's got his underground people that he's set to fight against Fisk. Whereas at the end of this season, everything is wrong. We have Fisk free, right, which we've talked about. That's a travesty against all the people he's hurt or maimed or killed over the years, / the last 10 minutes of this episode. And, we have, Matt in prison, right, where he doesn't belong with all of the AVTF officers. And so things are kind of topsy-turvy. And this song is sort of everything is not necessarily how it should be. But you get this sort of this end line, there's nothing to fear and nothing to doubt. Like there is this reassurance that the city was given peace through these actions. So it's a very interesting song choice. Similarly trippy as everything in its right place. I'll be very curious to see if they use yet another Radiohead song of this vignette. There's several more that they did like this for the third season, but I think it sort of showcases that we end up in a place that doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right that Matt's in jail. It doesn't feel right that Fisk is free on a beach somewhere, living a lot of our just general dreams. Wish I could get banished to a beach somewhere.
Yeah, well, I think he's going to the beach, like Vanessa's Island, I think is where he went. So, he's there. He's not, he's free, but he's in prison. He's got to face his grief and how his decisions kind of led him to that. will he fess up to the fact that his decisions led to Vanessa's death through, the dealings with, yeah, exactly. Like,
Well, and remember, he called, love was a prison, right? That he is now in alone. So in a lot of ways, they're both in prison.
Ha!
Ha! How did we feel about the whole season as a whole?
I really liked it. I'm glad we were able to discuss it in as much depth as we have, because I think it definitely merited it. And comparing it to season 1, I think I liked this season better just because it was a little bit more focused, where season 1 they had all the issues with like having to rewrite and reshoot half of it. So I think I think they going into it not having to do that, I think made it flow a lot better. Like it really made it feel like one more cohesive story. Whereas season 1 there was a couple episodes that were like, this was kind of a side quest, which wasn't bad, but also like in a 9 or 10 in an 8 or 9 episode show season, like you don't really have a lot of room for that. So I'd have to rewatch like the Netflix Daredevil. Like I don't think it's going to hold up to season 1 of Daredevil on Netflix, but I think it's getting up there with like season 2, at least in terms of like how I enjoy it. So yeah, no, overall it was a great season.
I enjoy the season. I think I have some opposite opinions of Jeff in terms of I know what episode he's talking about from the first season that he didn't like.
I didn't say I didn't like it. I'm just saying it's a side quest.
That was actually probably my favorite episode of season 1. And just because you get the more having to try to figure things out rather than just punch your way out of something. And rather, or it's cool to see Daredevil kind of punching his way out and doing what he needs to do to get the bad guy. But at the same time, you have the procedural courtroom stuff it's fascinating, and the arguments and just the wittiness and being able to think through things. And it's part of why I like shows of upcoming here, plug for Burn Notice, because you have that same sort of feel of, you have the action and the explosions and the beat 'em up, but you have the cerebral thinking of, this needs to connect to this, needs to connect to this, and having it all tied together, which is really cool. But I enjoyed, ultimately, I enjoyed this season for what it was. I think, I don't know if I could take it apart from season 1. I think season 1 might have inched out in terms of being better, but it was good.
Yeah, generally I'd say I think they work well as a set. Season 1 and season 2 kind of go together, right? Season 1 is sort of the building action all the way up to Kingpin and Daredevil, and then season 2 is the kind of the climax of Daredevil eventually becoming Matt Murdock and Kingpin becoming Fisk. So I would have trouble taking it out from season 1, but yeah, generally really enjoyed it. There were a lot of times where it was like, yeah, they're doing this because it's the TV show and they don't have enough time. But always wanted more, especially stuff with Jessica Jones, stuff with the White Tiger, that sort of thing. But yeah, overall, thought it was really good.
And which I think is something to say, like, we can have 8+ hours of a show like this and be able to go more in depth, or have an 1.5 to 3 hour movie. And I think, as we've seen Daredevil movies in the past, that a nice show is, to get more depth into it, is nice to see.
Well, I think that wraps our coverage up, unless there's anything you gentlemen had left to say about our boy Matt Murdock.
Not for another season, probably. So we'll see if he shows up in Brand New Day or Doomsday.
Yeah, in a orange jumper. Like, I fully expect the first episode to be him being some sort of like jailhouse lawyer and helping someone that is innocent get out of jail. That's my speculation for season 3.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Well, that's it for this season of Daredevil Born Again. You can check out the Secrets of Movies podcast for coverage of MCU films, including one coming soon about X-Men X2, and then Spider-Man BND, and of course, Avengers Doomsday later this year. That acronym. So, Brave New Day, right?
Brand new Daredevil.
Yeah, brand new Spider-Man, brand new Daredevil. All right. We also will hopefully be back on this podcast covering the Vision Quest series whenever it comes out, and then season 3 of Daredevil Born Again in about a year. What's next for the Secret of TV, you ask? Well, we're going to take a brief detour to the verse to talk about Firefly, past and future, in relation to the animated show in development, followed by an episode on the USA 2000 series Burn Notice. Then our next weekly show starting in June will be Monarch, Legacy of Monsters Season 2 on Apple. So spin-off of the Monsterverse, which, if you don't know, is, Monkey versus Triangle. I mean, Godzilla versus Kong. And we'll be covering each of those episodes of the season. And that's it for this episode of The Secrets of Television. We'd like to take a moment to thank all of our patrons who make this show possible, including Sean K., Mark B., Noreen G., John A., and Michael C. Their generous donations make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Television and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting GiveStarQuest.com. Be sure to follow Secrets of Television in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, your favorite podcast app, or at the StarQuest YouTube channel at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia, where you should like, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to get notifications. And you can find us on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, or on X, where we are at SQPN, or on Instagram, where we are at StarQuest Network. And we'd love to hear from you. What did you think of this episode and this season of Daredevil Born Again? Let us know by commenting on the show posting at sqpn.com/TV, or send us an email to tv@sqpn.com, or visit our channel on the super awesome StarQuest Discord server at sqpn.com/Discord. And we'll be back next time with our discussion of Firefly, and shortly thereafter, Monarch Season 2. So thank you, Rob Leonardi, for joining and sharing the Secrets of Daredevil Born Again.
Thank you, Pat.
And Jeff Haecker, thank you too.
Thanks, Pat. And remember, I used to be a lawyer. No, I didn't. Don't sue me.
And once again, I'm Pat Mason. And remember, sometimes the city needs to die before it can be born again. Thank you for listening to The Secrets of Television on StarQuest.